Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Let's get rolling at 7:06 here. It's halftime. If you missed the first 2 hours of O'Connor and Company, please subscribe to our podcast and download that son of a gun so you can catch up. All right. In the meantime, thanks for joining us here on this Thursday morning. I want you to know 1 week from now, you can watch us. You can watch us do O'Connor and Company live. Just get your ticket to CPAC. Head down to National Harbor because we'll be there. Mercedes, you'll be there right next to me at CPAC.
I know. I'm so excited. You keep asking me, can you do the 4 hours in the morning? I'm like, yes, we're gonna
just because you have a very busy dance card when you're at CPAC. Let's face it.
It's a little crazy.
You're the queen of CPAC.
They'll probably be doing my hair and makeup while I'm on air with WMAL.
There you go. Now we've guaranteed we will have an audience crowded around the table because you're going to want to see that.
The before and after makeover, which takes a long time.
I've seen it happen. It's quite impressive. It takes a village to get Mercedes stage ready.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, listen. I said that sounded like an insult, but I promise you it didn't.
No, it's fine. It's all good.
Coming up later this morning at 7:35, Jon Myers running for Congress, and at 8:05, the Attorney General of West Virginia. Joining us right now, a huge friend of the program, a man that both Mercedes and I admire quite a bit. He is Ian Pryor, of course, with Fight for Schools, as well as with America First Legal, and he's giving us a preview of tonight's Loudoun County School Board meeting. Ian, good Thursday to you. Good to talk with you, my friend.
Good to talk to you as well.
I've been saying all morning that this is a Loudoun County School Board meeting tonight, but the issue could be at any school board across this region and across the country. You would think that the Loudoun County School Board has had enough with co-ed transgender bathroom policies, but here we go again. It's on the agenda tonight.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, all the things, well, it's not funny, but everything that's happened over the past couple of years from, suspending teachers, getting slapped down in court, to saying we don't have to release this independent report, having to release it, to superintendent getting convicted. You'd think the school board would say, these administrators and these lawyers that we hire, they're not any good. And,
what's the word we're looking for? They're bad.
And here we are again, and they're making changes to this policy, which I don't know if they're trying to make them to appease the people that oppose the policy or not, but they make them so much worse.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Ian, let me ask you, because they're saying that they've changed the language now of this policy 8040. It was previously titled Rights of Transgender and Gender Expansive Students. Gender Expansive Student. I hadn't even heard that term.
Yeah, you don't want
and
your
now
gender
it's titled,
expanding on you. That's not
what is that? Expanding?
I don't know, but it sounds like you need to have an ointment for it.
No kidding. You're an animal and a child and different things. And now it's titled Ensuring Privacy, Dignity, and Respect for All Students. So they're obviously changing their language, trying to make this into more of a privacy issue than a gender rights issue. I mean, parents aren't going to buy this stuff. I mean, aren't they?
Well, what's funny is so what they do there is they say, well, if you object for some reason to a boy using a girl's room, well, we'll get an alternative for you, and they write that in there, right? You can go use a single-use bathroom. Like, okay, so what you're telling me here is if a biological boy, who needs to feel safe and comfortable in a common restroom, wants to use a girl's room, he can use the girl's common restroom. But if a biological girl wants to feel safe and comfortable in a common restroom that happens to also match her biological sex, she's got to go use a single-use restroom.
That's right.
That sounds like sex discrimination to me.
Yeah.
100%.
It's completely upside down.
And guess what? In Virginia, the Virginia Constitution specifically prohibits sex discrimination, and it says that separate facilities on the basis of sex shall not be discrimination. Yeah. So Loudoun County seems to be walking itself right into another lawsuit.
Let's be clear here, okay? They're calling this the bathroom right to privacy clause or bill or however they want to describe it, policy. And yet it literally will violate a little girl's policy. If a biological boy, young man, teenager, if it's in high school, goes into a girl's room or girl's locker room and violates all those girls' policies, it will be allowed under the guise of the protection of children's privacy policy. That's how Orwellian this is.
Well, it's insane. And you have to ask yourself, where are these rights that they're saying these rights of gender expression and rights to gender identity. Where do those come from? Well, I'll tell you what their answer will be. They'll say, well, those rights come from the Virginia Human Rights Act of 2020, which prohibited discrimination against people based on, gender and gender expression. Like, great, I see your statue, and I raise you one Constitution. Because in the Constitution, right, it says religion and sex.
Yeah.
And so obviously, if sex included gender, or gender expression, which it certainly did not in 1971 when Virginia amended the Constitution to put sex in there, but even if they wanted to make that argument, well, in 2020, when they passed this Virginia Human Rights Act and they said you should not discriminate against people based on religion, sex, gender expression, gender identity, okay, well, they obviously understand that sex is different than gender. In the hierarchy of rights, sex is over gender expression and gender identity. It's just the way it is. Yet these schools have it completely backwards.
Well, Ian Pryor's with us to alert everyone they can go to the meeting. It's tonight. It's at 5:15. Show up early. Make sure you get in there. It's called Policy 8040. We know about this, by the way, because so many of our listeners and great warrior moms out there in Loudoun alerted it to us over the course of the last several days. Ian, can you remind me the last time the Loudoun County School Board dabbled in all of this? About 3 years ago. I want to say maybe it was 4 years ago. Time flies. And they decided to open up all the bathrooms and allow anyone to happen. Of course, we know all of the horrific things that happened. That school board, as it was constituted at that time, every single member of the Loudoun County School Board, elected official who was a proponent of violating little girls' rights and privacies in their bathroom and locker room, are they still on the school board, those elected officials?
They are not.
They're all gone.
They are not.
They are all gone.
They're not.
They were all removed, they were recalled, they resigned, or they were voted out. Every single one of them are gone, thanks to you and the great efforts of the people of Loudoun County, the voters. So what the hell are these people thinking trying to do this again?
That is the $64 million question. and the superintendent at the time was, is currently awaiting criminal sentence.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Where's the superintendent? Well, he's looking at how many years he gets.
Two questions for you. One, who's funding this madness, this constant obsession of getting these school boards and these school districts to focus on gender ideology? I mean, why are we not focusing? Why are these school boards, these school districts not focusing on making sure our kids are not failing and not doing so poorly in their math and English scores? I mean, seriously. I mean, this is just so frustrating for parents.
Yeah, it is a good question because the language is really similar throughout different policies across schools, right? And it's not just in Virginia. So in some schools, you look at the regulation number and it matches other schools across the country on the same issue. And it's really, that's interesting. It's almost like you cut and paste this from some foundation or, institution's website. So, I think it's important that we get to the bottom of this, but I think it's also important that we hold these school systems accountable, through litigation. I mean, look, there was just a case at the Virginia Supreme Court, about 2 months ago, Fleming versus West Point, that, I read that decision and I say, this is the death knell for this kind of stuff in Virginia. It just requires people to actually challenge their policies at their, at the local level. And, I would say people might want to stay tuned for some things.
All right, Ian. We like that tantalizing little tease. By the way, there's also a provision that they're going to be voting on tonight called parental notification. It will prohibit parental contact on behalf of the teachers and administration where a student may be at imminent risk of suicide, abuse, or neglect. Now, obviously, if there is a child in that kind of danger, Child Protective Services should be called. Forget about, keeping secrets from parents. But no, it actually says Child Protective Services should be contacted, not must be contacted, should be contacted. So again, this is an open door for teachers and schools, government bureaucrats, to keep secrets of a sexual nature from a parent. And they will just say, well, we're afraid this kid will get abused and neglected. It's an outrage.
Yeah, and even worse, what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, if you're not affirming your child,
that's right. That's abuse and neglect.
And you're putting them risk for suicide, and so we can't tell you.
Yep.
Right? And
or they try to take you away from the kid.
Right. They're changing the language and making it seem like they're this is the reason why we can't do it, but we all know the real reason. We're not stupid. Right. They may be stupid, but we're not.
All right. Everybody show up tonight, 5 o'clock. Loudoun County School Board, and if they don't do the right thing, well, they'll get voted out and removed from office too, because that is the greatest success story of the last several years in Northern Virginia, is that everyone who was on the wrong side of every issue in Loudoun County on the school board lost their job one way or the other, thanks to partly you, Ian Pryor, your leadership, your advocacy, and all the great people of that county. Thanks, Ian. Great talking with you.
Thanks for having me, too.
716.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
News is brought to you by New Look Home Design.
On the next Vince Colonnese show, the stories ripped from the headlines and translated into the truth. Join us 3 to 6 on WMAL.
All right, we got a huge announcement here. I'm so excited. So next week is CPAC. As I mentioned, we will be live there. Get your tickets now. You can see O'Connor and Company Thursday and Friday morning. Thursday, Mercedes has promised that she will begin at 5 a.m. looking like she just rolled out of bed. And by the time the show is over at 9 a.m., she will have had a complete makeover. Her hair and makeup will be done before your eyes. This is exciting. I can't wait to see this myself.
Maybe you'll get a makeover too, Larry.
I'm ready.
We should just have Jessie.
She's
our
the
great
best.
makeup
I
artist,
love Jessie.
Come in
yes.
and come in here and be like, Larry, we need to make you look better.
We might need to live stream that behind a paywall and make a little coin
let's
on
do
this.
that.
All right. Anyway, that's coming up. Get your tickets now. Obviously, all the great happenings going on. I'm going to be on stage for a panel on Thursday. My buddy Kurt Schlichter's on the panel right after me, so we're going to be backstage together. Great planning there, Mercedes. My God, it's going to be a party.
It's like double trouble. We have to keep you guys together. We can't separate you.
Friday night, I'm emceeing the Reagan dinner again, and the guests are Bishop Strickland, a heroic figure in the American Catholic Church, who has been removed from his diocese by Pope Francis. He's going to tell his story. And Vivek Ramaswamy is speaking at the Reagan dinner.
That's right.
So I can't wait for that.
He will rally the troops Friday night.
President Trump will appear on Saturday. Now, that's the day of the South Carolina primary, right? So,
yes, that is right.
So now, and I was wondering how you were going to swing this, because usually Donald Trump is the last one to speak since he's been president, at least. He is speaking midday, because then he's going to fly down for his victory party down in Charleston. So now I've been like, who's going to be the final speaker? All right, Mercedes, I'm so excited. Go ahead, take it away, Mercedes Schlapp.
Okay, drum roll, please. No,
Yes.
It will be Argentinian President Javier Milei.
Wow.
An international sensation who went to Davos and really hit these globalists and these elites very hard. Criticizing socialism, talking about how capitalism is a better way to keep people out of poverty. He talk about someone who's trying to change his country, cut out corruption, really have reform. That's President Milei, and we just got the confirmation. Actually, I'm breaking the news here on WMAL that President Milei will be closing the CPAC conference. It's a huge, huge get.
Oh my gosh,
I can't even
amazing.
tell you.
Well,
so we encourage everyone to get tickets, cpac.org. The prices will be going up on the tickets next week, so get them now rather than next week.
That's a great
tip. And it's really, we have such a huge number of grassroots activists, not only here in the U.S., but they're coming from across the globe. We're kicking off CPAC with the CPAC International Summit, and we've got a number of international leaders coming. I mean, really, this movement has become worldwide.
Because conservative values transcend the United States of America. I mean, this is where it thrives, where it should thrive. The ideas of liberty and self-governance and small government and individual freedom. But those are not, they are American values, but they didn't start with us. They started with gifts given to us and freedoms given to us by God. And so all of humanity can embrace these ideas. It's amazing to see it happen.
And what I love is not only do we have President Javier Milei coming, we also have the El Salvadorian president who you have met.
I love him.
Nayib Bukele.
Yeah.
Nayib Bukele is incredible. He's cracked down on MS-13 gang members. He understands. He wants his people to come back to El Salvador. He's like, I want to make El Salvador great again.
I want to go to El Salvador.
Think about it. Two Latin American presidents. I think we are having more of these foreign leaders than Biden has ever met with the Latin American leaders. And they're sending a very serious message to the Latinos here in the United States. They're sending the warnings of socialism and globalism. Yeah. They are sending the warnings of be careful. You have to protect your family. You have to protect the values that made America great. And that, to me, is such a strong message. And it's why I think we have a huge opportunity, conservatives and Republicans, to bring Latinos on board in this upcoming election.
And you know who hates it? I mean, listen, the Biden administration hates this. They don't want Millei here in their backyard preaching small government and preaching, how to fight inflation. That's why he won in Buenos Aires, because the inflation is out of control there. Government control. He beat the Buenos Aires swamp and won that election. They hate it. The American left hates it. The Marxists and the American left hates it. But you know who else hates the fact that countries like El Salvador and Argentina and other countries not only are embracing American freedoms, American values, American economic principles, and coming here to America, to CPAC, to talk about it, China hates it. China hates it. This is so strong what you were doing at CPAC with these foreign leaders who are bucking, because there's a lot of pressure on these guys to take all of China's money and let China get in there.
Well, and the theme for CPAC this year is where globalism goes to die. I think it's important to understand that these international institutions like the World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, the United Nations, they are part of this globalist radical agenda that is infiltrating every major country. And as conservatives, it's important to push back against this. We have to protect our families, protect our faith, and really protect our sovereign countries. Yeah. It is critical. We do not need the international organizations dictating to the masses how we have to think, how we have to live, what cars we have to drive, how we have to worship. And if they want to come and take our children, it's not going to happen. We're going to stop them.
There you go. So you can get your ticket to watch Trump. If you don't do it for Trump, do it for Millei. If you don't do it for that, do it to watch Mercedes.
Do it for Larry O'Connor.
Get her hair and makeup done during the show on Thursday. By the way, I assure you, Patrice Onwuka will be there live on Friday, and she will be 100% ready to go at 5 a.m. Her hair will be done. Her makeup will be immaculate.
She always looks fabulous.
Always. I think she sleeps that way. It's 7:24.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
7:36. It's O'Connor and Company. Hey, we got a lot to do here. Coming up at 8:05, the Attorney General of West Virginia, Patrick Morrisey. I think he might be Irish. He's going to join us. He wants from his position as Attorney General to force an invocation of the 25th Amendment. I don't know why he likes Kamala Harris so much, but we'll get to the bottom of it with him coming up in 30 minutes. I'm Larry O'Connor, alongside Mercedes Schlapp.
Are you CPAC ready, Larry?
No.
You got it?
But I will be. I'm getting there.
Are you going to wear the wig, the Millei
I want to wear
wig?
a Millei wig. Now that we know,
think that's brilliant.
Now that we know that Javier Millei is coming, I might have to come out.
You could shift from the Trump wig to the Millei wig.
I'm just angry that you brought a bishop in for the dinner because I'm going to have to be on my best behavior. Like half of my jokes now, I was like, I can't say that. There's a man of God here. Like
well, you can go to confession right after
somebody.
The dinner.
We might have to do a confession on stage with the good bishop.
Oh, I would love to hear a Larry O'Connor confession.
Joining us right now is Jon Myers. He's running for Congress in Northern Virginia as the primary is looming now. It's coming up soon. He's running for 7th Congressional District. He joins us now. By the way, it's MyersForVirginia.com, MyersForVirginia.com. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure. And I have my Millei wig on.
Do you?
So you know.
Well, that's a far cry from the haircut you had when you were a active duty U.S. Marine. And, of course, given that Quantico is right there in the district, I'd love to first talk about your approach to this job, winning this election here, specifically with the military in mind, and what you would bring to Congress.
Sure. So just some background. I served 28 years in the Marine Corps. As you know, I retired in 2020. I have deep roots in the district. I'm 14th generation. My 3 children were all born here. I think we need to just get back to common sense. It just seems like nobody has any common sense anymore. And, a lot of people who are running for office will tell you if you support me, then the border is going to be restored. America's going to be great. Cats and dogs are going to get along. And, they're being a little disingenuous, but I can promise you this: I'll never compromise my principles, and I'll always fight to restore our border security. To get us back to fiscal sanity, drive down the cost of living, get our national security refocused on actual threats like China and not made-up threats like white nationalism. And of course, to rescue our military from internal mismanagement, which we've seen is just degrading our combat capability and driving down our recruitment levels.
I want to ask you something else that you've done just in the last couple of years here after your Marine Corps career came to an end. You saw, like the rest of us, the disaster of the Biden administration's withdrawal from Afghanistan. It was tragic. But because you served there, I think you saw it with a little bit more intensity. Because what you saw there on the ground at Bagram at the airport, I wish it had been Bagram Air Base. You saw people who had been your allies, people who had worked with American troops that whole time, who were sitting ducks and victims of the Taliban. You also saw that Americans were left behind. You did something about it. You actually led efforts to evacuate Americans and our allies. What was that like? And through that process, what did you learn about the current administration and how they're running things?
Well, I can tell you the biggest wake-up call, you always have this idea that our own government can lie to us and that they do lie to us. But it was a real wake-up call because it was confirmed during that process to me, and it was pretty shocking. So, yeah, as you said, I was one of the veterans who evacuated Afghanistan, and we got about 600 Americans and allies out. And during that whole process, our government was trying to stop us from doing that, threatening us with legal action and violating the Logan Act. And at one point when the White House spokesperson got up and said that, rolled her eyes and said, nobody's trapped, stop overreacting. We had about 138 Americans that we had in hiding up near an airfield to put on airplanes given to us by patriots such as Glenn Beck had donated an airplane.
Yeah.
So it was at that moment that it really dawned on me that, that they lie to us. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up because two of the things that prompted me to run for this, it certainly wasn't on my bucket list. I never envisioned myself trying to become a politician. But in addition to the Afghanistan evacuation, I was also the Marine who had Marine forces available to send into Libya after Benghazi in 2012, and that's the infamous Told to Stand Down group.
Yeah.
Although it was after the attack. So that was the first thing that got under my skin. So couple that with the Afghanistan experience, and those really prompted me to throw my hat in the ring and say, we can do so much better, and we need to do so much better.
Yeah. John, let me ask you this. Obviously, we've seen with the Russian hoax, for example, where you had John Brennan, under his direction, the CIA basically told our foreign allies and these intelligence agencies to go after Trump associates. So we saw this back in 2015, and now it's all starting to come out. What can be done to ensure that these intelligence agencies stop with spying on Americans, especially that it's become so political? What needs to be done with our intelligence agencies?
We absolutely need to depoliticize them. We need to reduce the number of political appointees and ensure that we have more career agents at the intelligence and law enforcement agencies who rise to the top and run the show there. And it's such a delicate issue because, if you recall, as an intelligence officer, I know that there was a time when, if we were monitoring terrorist activity, for example, communications, and an American came on the line, we had to hang up. It was literally illegal to listen to an American talking. So some of these FISA warrant regulations and Patriot Act listening regulations were enacted so that we could listen to Americans who were engaged with terrorists. So it started out as a good thing. It's been completely abused, completely politicized, to the point now where political entities are using it against their enemies inside the country. So we need to revamp the whole system. We need to relook at it all, and we need to reduce the number of political appointees, for sure.
We got to leave it there, sadly. But MyersForVirginia.com is the website. That's Myers with a Y. Listen, I'm not taking sides in this. I think we got a lot of good candidates on the Republican side. It would be fascinating to see you debating Eugene Vindman if he ends up being the Democrat nominee. I think that would be a clear choice for the people of Virginia 7. Good luck with the campaign, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a nice day.
You bet. It is 7:44 now, and if you're looking in the mirror, guys, and you see a person looking back at you that resembles you, but it's a person who doesn't have the same kind of hairline that you used to have because, well, you're losing your hair, you say, who is that guy? I mean, I recognize him, but the guy I recognize, used to have a lot more hair. It's not your imagination. It happens. You get older and you lose your hair. But I've got good news for you because this happened to me, but then I called growyourhairback.com. I walked into their office. I got a free consultation. They took a look at my hair and said, oh, yeah, we can help you. We can do something about this. And it's amazing. The wonder of scientific technology. You can grow your hair back. Stop that hair loss and grow your hair back today. They have multiple options for you depending on your rate of loss and how far along in the process you are. But you got to make that call. You got to go to the website and be entertained by the before and after pictures of me, and then get your consultation. It's free, okay? And you go in and you learn what they can do for you, and then, well, make a informed decision. But it starts with that phone call, 703-763-0016, 703-763-0016, or the website's so easy, growyourhairback.com. 745. Now WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives with Jamie Whitten. Yesterday, two protesters who are delusional about our climate, they infiltrated the security at the National Archives. They dumped red powder all over the display case with the U.S. Constitution in it, and then created a scene screaming about dead white men or something or other.
We're calling for all people to have all these rights, not just wealthy white men. We all deserve clean air, water, food.
This person thinks that only wealthy white men have clean air or water.
It looks like that's a white man.
Yeah, he's a white man himself.
This.
The most outrageous thing about this is that there are two security guards standing right there, and all they did was clear the room of the innocent tourists and children who were there on school trips. They cleared the room and let these protesters win the day. I don't know, maybe it's me, but if a security guard sees something like this happening, they should tackle the person to the ground, cuff them, drag them out by their hair.
Did you see the two security? I think they're they didn't look too tough. I'm going to be honest.
Well, they should be fired, and they should hire new security guards and give them. You know what? These two people did more disruption and more damage than 95% of the people arrested on January 6th.
Yeah.
This is gross.
You know, can I ask you a question? Let's say you and I were protesting together. We were climate change activists.
Yes.
I don't know. Do you imagine sitting around saying, should we pick the pink powder or the blue powder? Should we pick the orange paint or the purple paint? I mean, these people, they're losers. They are a bunch of losers. They try to be these climate change activists. They try to get some attention.
Yes.
And they look like a bunch of weenies, with this pink powder all over themselves.
I suppose,
it's so
except
stupid.
We the American people are the weenies because they were protected. They were allowed to disrupt everybody else's lives. The innocent children had to be cleared out of the archive. So, I mean, they got what they wanted. By the way, if you and I were planning a climate protest like that is literally exactly what the conversation would be.
We would be planning the climate protest in the Caribbean, drinking a pina colada on the beach.
But if we had a debate about it, pink powder, blue powder, I don't know. You want yellow? How about purple?
Yellow?
Would it look better on the camera? I don't know. Matt, what do you think? Matt? Wake up, Matt. Meredith?
What? And those idiots that glue themselves to the streets, like when it's the Hamas protest, it's like, who does that? You people are crazy, weird.
Mental illness. It's mental illness.
Yes.
But again, I blame us. I blame us because we are not demanding the police show up and cuff them and drag them out of the way. You start doing that and these protests will stop. You continue to tolerate it, then we see more protests. It's 7:53.